Okay, so the materials that you're going to be using for this acrylic pour over painting are your Elmer's Glue All. And again, I know that we've already talked about this, but it does need to be the Glue All version of Elmer's glue, not school glue. There's a reason. It is just about it being a flooding medium. And if you try to use regular Elmer's school glue, it may work, but I know for sure that the Glue All does work for sure. So I would recommend that you use Elmer's Glue All, as was on your list. You also do need 3 different acrylic paints. I had requested that you have at least 3, but you may have up to 6. If you've only got 3, don't worry. You can mix them to create additional colors if you want more than just 3 colors. If you have 6, you can mix those to make even more colors if you want to, but at bare minimum, let's say 3 colors. If you only have a small container of Glue All, you can really only mix the amount of paint that you have in relationship to your Glue All. So you wouldn't want to have like 18 different colors and not have enough glue to actually mix your paint, which we'll get to in just a couple of minutes. So you need your paint, you need your Glue All. You're also going to need something to stir the glue and the paint together in. So I just had some disposable cups laying around, but you could use recycled anything. So recycled yogurt cups would work fine, or something that you're gonna throw away anyway, and it doesn't have to be the same item. It can be all sorts of different things that you just mix into. All right, and then eventually you're gonna pour it into 1 cup or bowl or yogurt cup or whatever you've got. All right, so you could use plastic spoons to stir. I had some popsicle sticks, so I kind of laid out both as an option. And then the last couple of things you're gonna need a cup of water, which I actually didn't add in this screen right here, but you'll need it. And then you're also gonna need a paintbrush for the first initial day 1 part of the painting. You're gonna need a backing. I've got my cardboard piece that I'm going to actually paint on, kind of underneath all these materials here. And then I also have like a liner underneath, which is just a big piece of white paper that I had. You could also use a plastic garbage bag, piece of newspaper, a brown bag, anything that you can drip paint onto. This should be pretty sturdy because you are going to drip paint and it is going to accumulate under there. You'll also want to have a box or a couple of extra cups or something that you can set your painting onto in day 2 when you need to elevate the painting so that it can drip over the sides. You are going to need to start by taking any of your paint colors, it does not matter which one, and just kind of swirl it around and then spread it around to make an underpainting. Make sure that you use your paintbrush to evenly spread the paint around so that you don't have any like divots or dips or big chunks anywhere. Just make it as even as possible. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is set out a couple of different cups or containers that we can mix our paint and glue with for pouring. And then you're just going to pour in a little bit of paint. I'm actually going to mix some green. I have blue and yellow, and so I'm going to pour a little bit of yellow in 2 different cups, double in one and half in another. And then I'm going to pour some blue in 1 cup and a little bit of blue in that one that I had done halfway with yellow to mix in some green. And then I'm going to go ahead and pour in some brown into another cup. And I got some chunks, so I'm fixing that a little bit here. You're gonna see that I have a mixing ratio, equal parts Glue All and paint. So we're gonna pour about the same amount of paint into each of the different cups. I'm pouring just a smidge of brown in here, and then I'm gonna pour some yellow in there as well to get kind of a mustard sort of color. So if you only have 3 colors, you can make additional colors just by mixing your colors together. All right, so once you have the paint in each of the different containers that you're using, then you're gonna pour about the same amount. And you guys, you can measure this if you want to, but you don't really have to. So I'm just pouring about the same amount of glue as there is paint in the inside. And if it's a little bit too thick in the end, I'm gonna add a little bit of water to it. So the next step is to go ahead and take something that you can mix each of these with. You can use a spoon. I had some some popsicle sticks rather, and I'm just mixing the glue and the paint together in each of these different containers. Okay, so once you've mixed your paint and your glue, you're gonna find that your consistency might be a little bit off. I considered pink for a minute, but your consistency might be a little bit off And so you may need to add a little bit of water to each of the different paints in order to make it a little bit thinner. So if it's a little bit too thick, just go ahead and add a tiny bit of paint a tiny bit of water and go ahead and mix it in to thin it out. You really want the consistency to be about that of like maple syrup. All right, so if it's a little thick, it'll take a lot longer to pour, which you'll actually see. I wish mine was a little bit thinner in the end. I wish I'd add a little bit more water here just to thin it out a little bit. The drippier it is, you don't want it like sopping wet where it's gonna spread really fast. But if it's too thick, it just takes a long time to push it around the painting, which you'll see in the end here. Okay, so once you have all of the paints mixed, you're gonna choose one cup, doesn't matter which one, just choose one cup. And you're actually going to end up pouring all of the paints one on top of another directly into one cup. So I'm adding the green, but I'm not stirring them. That's really important. We want them to go in kind of layered. So I'm pouring most of the paint into the cup. I'm not scraping it out. I'm leaving just a little extra in case I need more in the end, which I will end up needing. And so I'm just kind of layering them, and you'll see that they're layered on top of one another inside of the paint. Okay, so next thing you're gonna do is go ahead and set your previously underpainted piece of cardboard on top of something that's elevated. I chose just a small box that's smaller than the size of my painting so that it's lifted up from the background. And then you're just gonna take your cup of layered paint and you're gonna just tip it upside down and pour it out onto the surface. And you're gonna see that the layers that are created are really interesting. And then you're just gonna lift up the painting and start to move it around in different directions. So this is where I wish my painting had been a little bit more liquid. I wish I had added a little bit more water and made it a little thinner. It's a little thick, so it takes quite a while for it to move down the side of the painting. But you're just gonna move it in all directions and kind of move the paint around on the surface until you're happy. And then you're gonna stop and be done. Okay, so remember how I mentioned that you might have extra paint in your cups and it might come in handy later. This is now. So go ahead and just tip out any additional paint. You'll see a different technique here just by taking the paint, layering it on top of itself here will create a totally different look. So layering it in the cup first, it creates one sort of design. I actually think it's more interesting for our concept of movement, but you can also use them as individuals and pour them on top of one another and then do the exact same thing where you just kind of lift up the paper and move it along as needed to kind of fill the rest of your painting up.